Hello and welcome to this Dawn Busters Taste Challenge. Yes, I had to wait till after the top of the hour. The news comes on at 6. I see dawn breaking here at 6:13 a.m. Central Daylight Time, September 23rd, 2018. Got to go to Mass at St. Rosalie Church in Harvey, Louisiana yesterday. That church building was built in 1923. So that was interesting. And they said, and it was crowded over there. When I drove up, I said, why is the street blocked? Oh, the Italian festival surrounding the church. Had to go down the street and go up the street and park on 3rd Street. Had to walk. They said the festival is older than the church. In other words, they were having the festival there in Harvey, Louisiana before they have the church was built. And it's very close to the Mississippi River, but on the west bank of the river. I was in the western United States yesterday. Then I came back to the eastern part of the United States. Okay. Right. We have established in 1939. Well, at least the company. I don't know about the whiskey. I doubt that. Albertsons, Canadian whiskey, a blend. Look at those royal colors. Purple, red, gold. Reminds us of Crown Royal, which it is not in any way, shape, form, or fashion close to that. But you know how it works. Crown Royal, they have on sale sometimes around here, $23.99, $22.99. And by the way, I asked 2 girls working at the customer service, just casually, I said, well, what's the top selling whiskeys you sell here? The first one says, not whiskey. I said, of any liquor. Oh, she said, let me think about that. She said, well, I guess Crown. They say Crown around here. I guess that's what people say. Crown and Tito's. I said, okay. Crown Royal and Tito's. So then I asked another girl. The next day or 2 days later, totally unconnected to the first, so I had no idea I was asking. So what? I said, Goldie, what is the top selling liquor here that you deal with? Because it constantly dealing with it. And she says, what you mean, like what style? I said, all overall. Just the one that's always moving. Oh, she said Crown. I said Crown Royal. Okay, so must be true. You see it a lot around here, just cases of it. Okay, of all different sorts. But this is not that. This is Albertsons Canadian whiskey, a blend. You know how much this cost me? $4.99 a bottle. Repeating, $4.99 per bottle at Albertsons on US Highway 61 southbound at the junction of Louisiana Highway 42 in Baton Rouge, East Baton Rouge Parish, Louisiana. It's actually outside the city limits of Baton Rouge, the city, but it's in the parish. And anyway, the city and the parish are amalgamated. The parish president is the mayor, and the mayor is the president. You know how that works, like Miami-Dade County. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. Enough of that. New Orleans Parish. Rich and Rare. Rich and Rare, introduced in 1962. It may be rich, and it's so rare, you can get it at Walmart. So, oh yeah, they're both 80 proof. Neither has an age statement. They're both distilled, blended, and aged in Canada. However, this is bottled in Louisville, Kentucky at County Line Distillers. You say County Line Distillers. I've never heard of that. Yeah, but you see a lot of bottles. If you look at a lot of liquor brands, especially private label store brands, they'll say County Line Distillers of Louisville, Kentucky. In other words, the Sazerac bottling plant in Louisville, Kentucky. All right. Rich and Rare with natural flavors. Oh boy. This one does not say that. I don't think they have to say it, but Sazerac usually gives a disclosure as a courtesy. Frankfort, Kentucky. Okay. Now, why is one bottled in Louisville by Sazerac, County Line Distillers? And why is one bottled in Frankfort, Kentucky by Sazerac, Buffalo Trace? Sazerac, Buffalo Trace is Sazerac. But, you know, at Buffalo Trace Distillery, this I do not know. Canadian Limited is bottled in Owensboro, Kentucky by Fleischmann's Sazerac at the old Glenmore Distillery, Sazerac. Now, according to the Sazerac website, it's only a bottling plant to date. They say that they bought Glenmore. It was a very old distilling company, but they only use that facility for bottling. They own a lot of different distilleries and blending plants and bottling plants and barrel houses, but they're kind of cagey about it. Like, they'll tell you about Barton's 1792 distillery in Bardstown, and they'll tell you about Buffalo Trace in Frankfort, but they won't tell you where the Canadian liquor is coming from, and they won't tell you where the Scotch is coming from, and they won't tell you where the Irish whiskey is coming from, and they won't tell you a lot of things. Oh, yes, and don't forget about Majestic Distilling over there in Baltimore County, Maryland. It's not technically in Baltimore. It's just outside the city limits, probably less than a mile, in fact. Not unlike the headquarters of Sazerac, which is, people say it's in New Orleans, but it's actually in Metairie, Louisiana, a couple of miles outside the city limits. And they're a huge warehouse on US Highway 90 is less than a mile from New Orleans. Maybe it's like a quarter mile, or it's not a half mile, but it's huge. Anyway, enough of that geographical extrapolations. Okay, Valentin George says, hello, Baton Rouge sounds French. It is. Red stick, it means red pole, because when the French were exploring up the Mississippi River, that was a border. Where Baton Rouge is today was a borderline between two Indian nations. And the Mississippi River, and they had this huge pole, like probably a tree that they had carved, you know, those totem poles, and they had all kind of dead animals hanging from it with blood running down it, and it was like a warning to the other Indian tribe not to cross the border. I think it was the Bayou Gula and the Natchez Indians. No, the Natchez. Yeah, it could have been the Natchez Indians on the east bank going up into Mississippi, and then the Bayou Gula on the west bank. I don't remember. But the French say, oh, look, you know, Iberville and Bienville, the two brothers. Mon frère, regardez les Baton Rouge. And I say, oh, Baton Rouge, that's what they call the city. Okay. But of course, at that time, it was a new kind of city. Craig Swinson says, good morning. I still have not taken the leap into the whiskey, Scotch, bourbon world. I'm still doing research, which is research now, consists of watching these videos. Get YouTube without the ads. Okay, no thanks. All right. I think this could be a pretty tough challenge. It was very tough yesterday, but I did get it right. But it took a lot of thought in between rant and raving. Now, some people watch and say, that's stinking rant and raves. I'm sick of it. It's nothing to do with the taste challenge. I understand that, but that helps me actually think on it while I drink on it. You know what I mean? If I'm ranting and raving, it's letting the liquor breathe. And it's letting me kind of think through it a little bit, so to speak. So, and what else you're going to do at 5:45 to 6:45 in the morning, right? Okay, let me sip this down a little bit. Okay, now, these things are very different. Like, yes, there's a generalized whiskey flavor. Okay, yes, we understand it. But the Scotch whiskey, the Japanese whiskey, the Irish whiskey, the American blended whiskey, the American bourbon whiskey, the American just whiskey, you know, like early times, the Canadian blended whiskey, they are different. You can kind of tell which is which by just the flavor. The Scotch and the Irish is smoky, generally smoky, but not always smoky, not always smoky, but generally so. And then the and peaty, not exclusively that way, but generally so. Then the Canadians would be sweet and honey-like, or a different flavoring almost. You see, they're very peculiar relative to the other ones. And then the American whiskeys will be very, and this is a generalized statement, generally corn oriented. If you've eaten enough grits, you know, go buy some Quaker grits and just make some and eat some every day. Then start tasting the whiskey, and then you'll get the picture. You'll say, oh, I see a very close crossover between those two. And the ones I just described are the Western world. Here at the Western world, they tend to be corn-based. Maize, corn, maize, maize, corn, maize, corn, corn, maize. In Europe, they say maize. In America, we say corn, okay? And if you read the Bible and they're talking about corn, they mean wheat, not maize, okay? Not Indian corn, since they hadn't explored the Western Hemisphere at the time, so they weren't even aware of it. And then the Japanese whiskey would be, and maybe Korean also, and Chinese, whatever. That'll be rice-based, rice-based. A rice whiskey, which is much different if you think about the base of it. Now, if you're only looking at the periphery, then you may not notice, but you got to think about that. All right, so the appearance is gold. They look the same, gold. Gold to gold. Gold to gold. All right. Hold on just a moment here. Do a little something here. Get them good and mixed up again. I think the Canadian whiskey is going to have more of a standard, or as they might say in Manitoba, standard, a standard flavor. You know, grain, wood, the aroma and taste generally associated with whiskey, as the U.S. government says. And the rich and rare is going to have more of that honey, the honeycomb, the flavoring. Similar to Canadian Club. If you drink Canadian Club, you notice that honeycomb. It's really strange. And I'm not going to keep going into it every time, but sometimes people watch this video, they haven't watched all the other taste challenges, you understand? They don't watch every one. So I've talked about the Canadian whiskeys. Legally can have up to like 9%. It's a decimal, 9% additives, and they don't have to disclose it. Sazerac does. They don't have to. And what can the flavorings be? No, it's not almond extract that they pour out of a bottle. It can be wine, and there's some regulations about the wine. It has to be a certain age, and I think stored in wooden barrels. Usually probably blending sherry, because they use blending sherry in the United States. Also up to 2% without disclosure. You don't have to disclose it, and they never do. It could be rum, brandy, or bourbon, American bourbon whiskey. All three, one of the three, two of the three, or a blend, a mix of the three, okay? And they have to be a certain age. So it's regulated, but the regulations, even though they're strict, they give you a wide range or a wide parameter in which to do a lot of mixing. So it's strict, but at the same time loose, you understand? The looseness is strictly regulated. So yeah, you might go and buy 25 different Canadian blended whiskeys that are $8 to $12 a bottle, and they're not going to taste the same. And that's what I said about the round robin tournament. And I'm not being defensive. The person asked a question. He asked it in a polite manner. He said, I'm concerned because you do this all the time in the morning and you're some kind of alcoholic and you're just using it as an excuse to drink. Well, I'm not using it as an excuse to drink. And in fact, I would not make an excuse. This is the honest truth. Of course, is there a dishonest truth? If I wanted to drink all the time, I would just do it. I would do it, and I would just tell you I'm doing it. I wouldn't be trying to hide it. You understand what I'm saying? I would just do it. Wouldn't be something to be proud of, and it would be a bad example, and it would be self-destructive, but I wouldn't try to hide it. But the taste challenges are done just for, if you want to say scientific purposes, it is that way in some way. It's a round robin tournament, and I don't know how else to explain that. Do I know people that drink excessively to the point of dying? Yes. In fact, I worked with someone. He'd admit it, but he was very defensive, you see, so he just became a stumbling drunk. His appearance went downhill incredibly bad. It was a nightmare story. He wasn't doing taste challenges. He was drinking a bottle of Crown a day. Well, at least he got some quality, right? Crown Royal. He could have drank a bottle of Albertsons a day, but guess he figured if he's going to become a total drunkard, alcoholic train wreck, he'll do it with quality. Doesn't really matter though, does it? I mean, it was bad. I mean, we're talking really bad. Died at 49 years old. I have someone in my own family. Not going to go into those details. This is really not your business. And you don't want to put out your family's business, because that's poor form. But this is someone. I mean, you say, well, I have someone in my family. A lot of people would be able to say that. Drinks all day long. Not going to live very long if this continues. Now, there's no getting around that. And if you saw the person's appearance, you'd be appalled. These people that age, they'd be 40 years old and they look 65. Same old story. Now, I know other people that drink a lot, way more than me. And they're not, technically alcoholics. They have jobs. They do things, They can kind of keep it together. But you think to yourself, I don't know. I don't see how that could be healthy, this hard driving consumption, beer, wine, liquor all day long. But they do it, and I'm talking about some people that are like 78 years old, 76 years old, and don't look a day over 76. So you just never know. People have different bodies, different constitutions, enough of that. But, so I have maybe not the strongest constitution. I could get sick rather easily, so I have to be careful. But I feel a lot better drinking alcohol than I ever did drinking soft drinks, Coke, Pepsi, all that stuff. Just made me feel terrible. And I realized one day, no wonder I felt bad for 30 years. I was drinking all that stuff. Okay, so this one, go back to the comments if there are any. We don't want to ignore our viewers, do we? No comments. Okay, so this one is very pungent, and that's making me think Albertsons, because if I recall, Albertsons was very pungent. But we don't want to be hasty. Oh, and my friend David came over, and he wanted me to try this scotch. He was so excited about it because he got it for $10. He got it for $30 a bottle, and it was $40 normally, and it's a 10-year age single malt scotch, which I had seen the bottles. I hadn't researched it. Didn't have a lot of experience with single malt scotch. Certainly wasn't opposed to it. Had some at John and Ile's house, and it was nice. This was called Glenmorangie, and I liked it. The initial taste was good. It wasn't very scotch-like, though. It didn't have a lot of peat or smoke. You could have fooled somebody, perhaps making them think it was American whiskey. So that caught me off guard a bit. And we were starting to get into it, and the bottle slipped out of my hand. Like, I was trying to show the bottle, it slipped, and I went to catch it, and the bottle neck hit the glass and just shattered it. These are very thin glasses, or as David described them, flimsy. Nice glasses, and they're proper tasting glasses. Thank you, John and Ile, for the 4-pack. I got 3 left. I told him when he bought them, well, he got a deal. He actually didn't have to pay for them, but he when he got them for me, I said, don't buy them or get them for me because I'll break them. You know, I always break my best glasses. They slip, fall. And I said, I didn't even make it a year with the first one. They'll all break eventually because they are very fragile. So it doesn't take much and they just shatter. This one is not as pungent, okay? It's more candy. Is it more candy-like? I'm telling you, I cannot do a good job describing these. But there's something in these, and they have this distinct aroma that I cannot pin down. You can't smell it over the internet. But if you could smell this, you might say, oh yeah, that is such and such. Because I'm using close approximations and I can't get it. I know I'm doing it wrong, but it's unlike anything that you pick up in the regular world. And I think if you cooked with this, it would really add some complex and interesting characters. Oh, and then we reviewed the Clan McGregor. Well, he was pleased with it, you know, not talking about how gourmet it was, but he was favorable towards it. That's a big drop off. $30 bottle, which should be 40 bucks, down to a $7.95 bottle, you know, or $8.95 bottle, $9.95 depending where you buy it. So these have pungent and intricate, and I must admit, confusing aromas. If I can be honest, says Craig, you can be honest. I would rather if you didn't lie. I'm worried sipping whiskey will be too intense. Could be. For my occasional sipping, I enjoy trying different sherries. Maybe I'm too weak for whiskey. Maybe next week I'll try it. I wouldn't say you're too weak for it. If you're not interested in it, or you feel like it may not work out for you, or even worried about doing it, then I would say don't do it. I'm sure your life will be fine without sipping or smelling whiskey, and let me say that. I just did it because I'm, like, you know, I'm interested in brands. This does that, this does that. Aside from that, I'm not really interested in any of this stuff. Beer, wine, liquor. Like the whole struggle, we talked about that, the social struggle, like there's some great quest that you're on. And when I saw the person making the comment about craft beer about 4 years ago, I guess it was 4 years ago, talking about we're winning. That just got me so outdone. I said, winning? What are you winning? And that's when I said, I'm stepping back from this. This is not my life. It is not a social struggle. I am not part of some culture conf. And then not to mention the whole other approach of selling t-shirts and getting people to give you money on your channel. I'm like, I would never do that. I don't want to be any part. I don't have any part of that. I don't care if they do it. Doesn't matter to me, but I wouldn't dream of doing it. Okay. My daughter bought me that Louisiana Beer Reviews t-shirt. I wouldn't sell them. I mean, if let's just say I had some, which I don't, I'd just give them to you. I'd say you could have it if you want it. Why you would want to walk around wearing a t-shirt that said that, I don't know. Now this one here, I'm telling you, and if you were talking about this, it tastes like plum wine is added. Plum wine. You say, well, you've had plum wine? Well, no. But I've had prune juice. You know what I mean? So there's got to be some connection. It's really strange. Whiskey is strange when you're a stranger. Well, one thing about these two items is you get these quirky flavors, but then as the taste sets in, then the underbody comes out. The corn, column still grain whiskey, that comes out. And then it's like you're drinking a big glass, well, in this case, a tiny glass of grits. Oh, boy. Okay, so, yep. Yeah, and I think that I'll be honest with you. I think the flavoring is added to mask the harshness. I really believe that. Because as you drink on it while you think on it, then you start to realize that, you know, these are about as smooth as a jackhammer. You know what I mean? Smooth as sandpaper, really. They're very bitey. Good morning from Memphis, Tennessee, says Frederick Byram. Hey, Frederick. So I think that's the key to the riddle here, because you take something that's cheap. I don't try to hide, you know, I don't try to run interference for these products. You don't have to tell me they're cheap. I know it. Like, people were telling me this, like lecturing me in comments. Don't you know that stuff's cheap? Yeah, I bought it. Kind of aware of that. I was under no illusions. I don't know why that is some kind of big, like, part of some enlightenment. If I paid $6.99, I'm pretty aware it's cheap. Where I'm looking around in the liquor store and everything else is $59, $79, $259. Yeah, I mean, so I understand that. But I think those flavorings are added to mask the harshness, which will shine through if you're doing what I'm doing, taking your time and sipping it down. It will shine through, because like Cyndi Lauper will tell you, your true colors come shining through. So don't be afraid. To show your true colors. Robert Duvall and Sean Penn can tell you about colors. I think Craig says, I agree, Jeff. You never know what musical references Jay will say. Ugh. I come for the musical references and stay for the taste challenges, says Jeff Nat. Oh, yeah, those little shibboleths that we throw in there. So he's dusted. All right. All right. I'm thoroughly convinced which is which now, I'm telling you. Now, which one do I prefer? Well, like Larry Holmes said in 1985, after the boxer match, if you want to be techno, I prefer the Albertsons. It's got a little nicer flavor. I'm not here on the internet trying to tell you how nice it is. It's $4.99 a bottle. What do you think you're going to get? But in that world, that crazy-go-lucky world of store brand whiskey, it's not bad. Now, you want to taste some stuff that doesn't taste right. I mean, really don't taste right. You buy it and you say, whoa, what just happened here? Go to, and this is only my opinion, and this video is for entertainment purposes only and should not be taken seriously. Go to Trader Joe's and get some of their store brand stuff. Their cream sherry, their French brandy. It's not that it just tastes exotic. It just don't taste good. Like that cream sherry, I said, oh no, I'm gonna have to drink this whole bottle. What a chore this is gonna be. And it was. And I finished it and I didn't enjoy it. And that was from Spain. Like, wow. I could get the cream sherry from New York, which is supposed to be so pedestrian. Taylor cream sherry. Oh no, never, 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 never. But here I am getting this stuff from Spain. And I could barely finish it. I did finish it. And then I get this French brandy, their version of it. The Trader Joe's French brandy. Oh, it's called Pierre Duchesne. Pierre Duchesne or something. What does that mean? Pierre the dog? I don't know. Of the dogs? I don't know. You know. Je n'ai pas parlé vous français. All right. Je n'ai pas parlé français. Pourquoi? Anyway, this is not so bad. It's just weird, you know. Country of origin means nothing nowadays. Apparently not. And when I'm buying food and I see made in China, I run from it. You know what I'm saying? Like, go the other way. I say, no, nada. This has got to be the Albertsons, people, because it's got that weird plum rind. Okay, plum wine thing. So here we go. Get ready. Wish me the best. Wow. I did have a little honey note too, but let's say Albertsons. Albertsons, please be Albertsons. It is Albertsons. I did it. I did it. I did it. I did it. I began not to love you. Okay. Rich and rare. Yeah, I still love you. Well, I don't love you. Maybe I like you. Blue, green colors flashing. I could be your only dream. Yeah. All right. I don't know, but I think you never loved me. All right. But you used me and it worked, because then because you got to take the holiday road. And you practiced all day long while I was a waitress. All right, and a cleaning lady. I want to be a star. I don't want to be a cleaning lady. All right. Sometimes the most beautiful thing. Sometimes the most innocent thing. All right, anyway, enough of that. Blah, blah, blah. Murmur, murmur, murmur. Humbelievable. I'm Captain Humble. All right. Well, well, well. Captain Howdy, that wasn't very nice. We're going to end this extrapolation of barometric pressure and not to mention general principles. Rich and rare loses to Albertsons. Oh, man. Well, Sazerac, this was a cannibalistic thing because we had one of your brands destroying, cutting it up, and eating another one of your brands. But then who cares? Anyway, not too many people. Okay, so a $4.99 whiskey, $4.99. Let me repeat, $4.99 defeats a seven. You say, oh man, a $7.49 whiskey. Now some people are rolling their eyes saying, oh wow, $4.99 to $7.49. I'm really impressed. No, I never said you should be impressed. In fact, if some people had these two whiskeys given to them as a gift, they wouldn't be impressed. They'd probably be depressed. But anyway, so find your way back. Find your way back Tuesday, because that's the next scheduled taste challenge. Dawn Busters Taste Challenge Tuesday. So we did this challenge here on Sunday morning. But Tuesday, we're going to do Tuesday's Child. We're going to do, not Ruby Tuesday, but Whiskey Tuesday. We're going to do Rich and Rare versus another one of those Albertson, Sazerac brands. I can't remember which one. What is it? I think it's the Canadian Crest since 1987. You say Canadian Crest. Oh, no, please. No, I beg you, don't do that. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I'm going the distance. All right. And then we've got other luxurious items like Canadian Limited. Oh, boy. And Canadian Club and Canadian Club 12-year aged. and black velvet. Shiny boots of leather. Boots of leather. All right, enough, enough. Stop, stop. Stop it. So it's time for the hammer to fall. Doot, doot. All right. Over. It's over. This is the end.